Dr. Ekrup Kaur with us. She's a principal secretary, IT and BT, Government of Karnataka, and she is the woman behind a lot of visionary policies which are you all are like seeing regarding IT sector in Karnataka. A lot of action is happening. I think after she has arrived in the department. So let's have like kudos for her to start with. So we have had like a lot of GCC leaders since the morning who have been speaking here, and each of them have like talked about various opportunities which are emerging for GCC expansion in India as a whole, and also specifically in Karnataka. And we would love to have you speak about the Karnataka GCC vision and the policies which are being drafted by your department.
A very good afternoon to everyone present here. Pleasure to be here amongst all of you this afternoon. So you all know that Bangalore is, at the top of the chart when it comes to GCCs. And we have more than 30% of all GCCs which are there in India have their offices in Bangalore. And we are only looking at, increasing our presence and strengthening this entire ecosystem by a couple of initiatives which the department is taking. The projections, as we all know, are that, in the coming 5 to 6 years, what has happened over the last, say, 20 years in the entire transformation from a business processing center to, evolving into today as global capability centers and becoming the innovation and transformation hubs. We have seen close to about 1,700 odd GCCs coming to India. But in the next, say, 5 to 6 years, the expectation is that at least 1,000 new GCCs would be coming. And looking at the opportunity, Government of Karnataka has decided to come up with a dedicated policy to support this incoming GCCs. The policy, since we are making it for Karnataka and for Bangalore, we are already riding on some strengths. We are only looking at strengthening that further and, making it more entrenched. So the entire policy is basically around 4 major pillars. But one of the most important things that we are looking at is to, improve our talent pool and make it even better. Today, if people are coming to Bangalore, it is because of the availability of talent, and especially, higher level, high-end talent which is available in Bangalore. So government has taken a lot of initiatives, including a new scheme which has been launched recently, which is Nipuna, which is for skilling people with industry participation. So through the policy also, we will be taking some more initiatives around skilling. Policy is yet to be announced, so I will not be able to give too many details. But we will be taking some more initiatives around skilling. The other pillar that we really want to focus is on R&D, because today, most of the GCCs in Karnataka, at least above more than 400 GCCs are actually R&D centers and doing cutting-edge research and innovation. So we would like to support that from government. Third and very important ask, which is always there from any government, is ease of doing business. And rest assured that the new policy will have some very, very significant announcements which will be around ease of doing business. And one last but not the least, rather very important pillar of the policy is supporting our initiatives around Beyond Bangalore. So Karnataka has many other cities which are as good as Bangalore, and we feel that the time has come that we need to encourage those clusters as well. So we have taken it up as a policy decision to develop 6 clusters in Karnataka. In phase 1, we are looking at 3 clusters. And we have many initiatives which have been taken, and in fact, a very good traction is there for the 3 clusters which have been selected in phase 1, which includes Mysore, Hubli, Dharwad, Belgaum, and Mangalore. So if you want, I can give you more details, but Beyond Bangalore is something like a priority with us, and that is what we are also focusing on through this policy. So policy will be out end of next week, and it will be open for public consultation and your feedback before we finalize it. So once we come out with the policy, it will be available on our website, and I urge all of you to have a look at it and give your inputs to see how we can keep Bangalore growing from strength to strength.
Excellent points. I wish to like just also talk about that a lot of emerging GCC hubs are emerging like Chennai, Hyderabad, Pune, etc. So Bangalore has been like till now the number one choice for everyone because of its legacy in the software industry. But how does Bangalore like look, or Karnataka in fact, look forward to remain attractive enough for people to be interested still in Karnataka and not going outside?
So as I mentioned, of course, the policy will play a very important role. The other thing is that, these skills and the talent that we are talking of, it is something that will not come overnight. And that legacy which has been built over many years, it is not just the 20 years where we have seen IT and software sector develop in Karnataka. It's not just that. But I think we can go back to almost 50, 60 years right from post-independence. Karnataka has been the leader in education sector. The number of STEM graduates which are coming out of Karnataka is the highest, and in fact the private education system is also very, very strong in Karnataka. Along with that, we have some very premier institutes including IISc, which is one of the only institutes from India which actually comes in the top 100 globally. And Karnataka has also had the legacy of a lot of PSUs which were doing a lot of research and innovation. In fact, I was just reading a few days back in 70s when there were only about 70 R&D institutes in the country, 40 of them were in Karnataka, which is a very, very significant number. And I think that is the strength that this ecosystem has. The talent which has been cultivated over the years, the innovation ecosystem which is there, and we are only going to work on that, make it even better in this age of emerging technologies where, before you realize the technology has already changed. I think continuous and regular upskilling, reskilling is going to be one of the key things which will keep us ahead of the curve.
And now the discussion is also like moving to the sectoral GCCs like BFSI, healthcare, and retail, and various other sectors. So, is the government thinking of approaching any developing any sector-specific policies to attract GCCs in the state?
So actually, Karnataka, again, I think diversity is our strength. We are not focusing on any one sector, but we have presence of all GCCs from all sectors. But of late, we have seen a lot of growth in BFSI, in retail. Retail, in fact, is really catching up, and a lot of companies which didn't even have a GCC are today thinking of having a retail GCC, and a lot of them are going to come to India. So these are emerging sectors where we are focusing. Of course, there are many other sectors. If you go through the details, probably almost every domain where there is a GCC, there would be some which are in Karnataka, and I think diversity does help in some ways.
Sure.
We don't want to be very, very focused on only one or two things.
And you have spoken about like going beyond Bangalore, and there are like emerging hubs in Karnataka, which are the IT emerging hubs. So people are still like a bit of scared about infrastructure, connectivity, train, railway, bus, and all that stuff. So if you want to speak about that also.
Sure. So I was in Mysore yesterday only, meeting a lot of people from the industry, and we had an event where a lot of people had come from Bangalore as well. So over the last 2 years, basically post COVID, we have curated a number of sessions and many delegations from Bangalore and from other parts of India to our clusters. As I said, we are looking at 3 clusters right now: Mysuru, Hubli, Dharwad, Belgaum, and Bangalore. And we have seen a lot of traction. In fact, yesterday I was looking, Mysore alone has seen 8 new companies open up their base in Mysore in the last 1 year. One of them, which has gone recently, like about a year and a half back, is IBM, and they are already looking at doubling their numbers in Mysuru. They are very happy with the kind of support they have got there, the kind of talent which is available, and the kind of ecosystem which exists. Mysore also has in fact, all the 3 clusters have a very good startup ecosystem as well, which kind of feeds in very well into the innovation and the GCC ecosystem. So we are also looking at, creating little bit of sector specificity when it comes to clusters. So Mysore, besides electronics, manufacturing, and ESDM ecosystem, also has a very robust cybersecurity ecosystem. There are a lot of startups which are there in that domain, and we are looking at having more emphasis on cybersecurity related interventions in Mysore. Similarly, Mangalore, we all know, was the home to so many banks, and they have that. They think only in terms of numbers. They have a very deep financial acumen. So we are looking at developing it as a fintech cluster, and in fact, there is a lot of interest which has come from Middle East to invest in Mangaluru into fintech kind startups and fintech companies. Mangalore and Udupi also have a very good ecosystem around life sciences. We have certain centers of excellence also which have been set up in Mangalore, which focus on marine biotechnology, on biotechnology in general. We have a business incubator with Manipal. All of these are promoting and encouraging life sciences research, life sciences skilling, and will be a very, very good ground for such companies to move over there. Hubli, Dharwad, again, all these places do have a traditional edge in doing something. Hubli was always the automotive center. A lot of ancillary companies are located in Hubli, Dharwad. So building on that today, if you see, we have a lot of companies, startups in particular, which are looking at drone technology, electric mobility, and all of that. So the GCCs also, which will come there, would be primarily around these sectors. So these three clusters typically will focus on certain technologies. Government will invest by way of supporting startups, by way of supporting the creating centers of excellence, which will engage with R&D, skilling, and building the talent in these clusters. All three clusters have very good number of educational institutions and very good output of STEM graduates. So I think all of this put together, and with the new policy which is coming, which will have some fiscal incentives also for companies moving to these three clusters, put together, I think it's a very, very attractive proposition, and we hope to see a lot more companies landing into these centers. One more initiative which we are taking for making it easier to work in these clusters is we are setting up global technology centers, which would provide a kind of plug and play facility. So for companies which want to have another like a spoke or a subunit in one of these three clusters, to test waters, if they don't want to invest and have too much commitment, they can actually move into these GTCs, which will provide them plug and play facility. You can test waters, see how the response is, and then look at establishing your own office. So all these three places will have a global technology center.
There is a trend about having.
I missed about the connectivity bit.
Yeah.
So everybody is from Karnataka, and I'm sure all of you know. All three places have very good airports, very good connectivity. Places like Hubli have 14 flights in a day, and there are direct flights to Delhi, Ahmedabad, and places like that. So in terms of connectivity, road, rail, air connectivity, and social infrastructure in terms of schools and hospitals, I think these cities are really ready for the next, the change into the next level.
Are there any questions from the audience, or I can ask? Okay. So please stand up and please mention your name and designation, organization. Yeah. Mike, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Very insightful so far. My name is Ramya and I come from HSBC. My question is, it may not be your area of expertise, but I want to know what can we expect from an infrastructure development standpoint within Bengaluru? Because traffic is synonymous to Bengaluru today, right? I know you briefly touched upon it, but I want to know what can we expect in 5 years further? Thank you.
So while I don't want to say that, we are very good or anything, but traffic is a problem which most growing cities grapple with. And it is something which is not just typical of Bangalore. We have a very vocal population, so we hear more about it, I feel. But government from its side is certainly trying to improve things. With metro coming in and metro network expanding, it will improve tremendously. Bangalore has a very, very good network of public transport buses as well. It is the highest in the country. So move of people, people adopting more public transport modes will certainly make a difference. In fact, while, a lot of changes have happened, which has reduced traffic post-COVID, but one unfortunate move which has happened is that people have moved to private modes of transport, which has actually added to traffic. So positive in the sense there are people who are still working from home at least 2 days in a week, so they are not hitting the roads. But negative that they are taking private transport. I think if you go to any major city in the world, I am talking of large cities like New York, London, Melbourne, or any of these cities, they all depend on public transport. You go to South Korea, you go to Seoul, 80% of the mobility is only public transport. People don't use private transport. And I think that, it is more of an aspiration thing in India, that when you can afford a two-wheeler, you would like to buy a two-wheeler. The moment you can afford a four-wheeler, you would like to buy a car and use it. But ultimately, as responsible citizens, we should all move towards public transport. That is one of the things. But this is not, undermining the efforts which government has to put. Government from its side does need to invest in infrastructure, create more, connectivity, improve the road condition. I think things are looking up. Hopefully, we will have better mobility in days to come.
Any other questions? Yeah, okay. Please stand up and mention your name.
Hi, my name is Ashwini Suresh. I'm part of Philip Morris. I take care of complete vendor management of Philip Morris, and I'm part of Control Tower Head here. So I have a question. I am basically born brought up in Bangalore, and to Bangalore, what I saw to what today we are seeing is totally different. I'm very happy to see that change while we are losing our ethnicity of Bangalore, what we had. While Mysore was an IT hub sometime back itself, IT got established in Mysore sometime back, but still people didn't tend to move back to Mysore, still stayed back within Bangalore. So how is actually government going to encourage people when you're coming up with these tier 2 cities? How are you going to encourage people to kind of pick up jobs there itself?
So lot has changed in these clusters, as I mentioned. First of all, connectivity is much better now compared to even say 5 years back. Today, Mysore from North Bangalore to Mysore takes 2 hours end to end, whereas from North Bangalore to Electronic City also takes 2 hours. So in that sense, connectivity is much better to Mysore, to all other cities. Second thing is that people were waiting for the social infrastructure to come in terms of good educational institutions, good general social infrastructure, hotels, resorts, and all of that. I think all the 3 clusters that I mentioned have better weekend getaways than Bangalore today. You live in Mysore, you will be spoiled for choice for the number of places you can visit on a weekend. Third thing is education, which is very important. So there have been, in fact, Mysuru and even Hubli, Dharwad. Bangalore certainly always had a lot of schools, even very good primary and secondary education. Mysore and Bangalore, in Hubli, Dharwad, government has consciously actually, made certain private school operators to open their schools in those places, to ensure that people get same schools in those cities also, because that is one very important factor that people look at. Higher education is not a problem in these cities. Hospitals is not a problem in any of these cities. And to top it all, now with the new policy, we are going to announce a lot of fiscal incentives. I think while these cities anyways offer a cost arbitrage, because cost of living is lower in these cities, so you may be able to hire talent at a relatively lower price than Bangalore. In addition to that, fiscal incentives put together will make it a very sweet deal.
Yeah.
Can I speak like that?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
My name is Mohan Das. I run a boutique consulting firm in Bangalore. Couple of suggestions. See, Bangalore is known to be an anglicized society in the sense a lot of people speak in English compared to any other city in the country. Language is an important factor today in the agile world. So something around that, so that the people from a lower society who are not exposed to English but very good in stuff in Kannada, Tamil, or whatever language, that can be encouraged is a point, right, through a private participation. And yeah,
So sure, we can do that. In fact, soft skills is something. And
correct.
with
That's the
including
second point I
English,
wanted to say. Yeah.
which lot of companies have been bringing it up again and again. So this new program which I was mentioning, Nipuna, that we have launched, it is a completely no strings attached kind of a program where we are going to be completely going with the industry demand. So we don't have any straight jacket rules or regulations defining that program, except that government's contribution towards skilling will be capped at around 40%. Besides that, what program has to be run, who has to be the training partner, what kind of training should be given, the content, curriculum, everything will be decided by the industry. So there is scope to take up those kind of English speaking as well as
Other
soft
languages, French, Japan,
soft skills
Japanese.
programs under Nipuna, and I think we are completely geared to do that.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Any other question?
Actually, our aspiration is not just to skill for companies working in Bangalore and Karnataka, but to skill for the world, because today India is, riding on this demographic dividend, and we are right now blessed with a very, very young society. We can fulfill the need of the entire world of talent requirement for the entire world, and we would like to tap into that.
I think I like this statement about not only English, but why not French, Spanish, and other
Yeah,
languages.
why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Government of India has just launched one program with the government of Japan to train people on their skills requirement, including speaking of Japanese. Because Japan, as we all know, is one of the most aging society today.